We're live on YouTube. Sorry, everybody. Good evening, everybody. One of our favorite meetings of the year. So if we can all start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Councilmember Wood. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Conrad Golden. Councilmember Ritchie.
Here.
Mayor Darrows.
Here.
Councilmember Donovan.
Here.
Councilmember Sorba.
Here.
Councilmember Bailey.
Here. Do I have a motion to excuse Councilwoman Wilberding from the meeting?
So moved.
Support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 3, reading and consideration of the minutes of the regular meeting and closed session held on February 12th, 2024. Do we have any changes or comments on those minutes? All right, they will be adopted as presented. Item 4, presentation of the 2023 Public Safety Merit Awards. Director Hutchins. Everybody, just so you know, you are free to take pictures. As the officers come up, we'll also take a brief recess after this item, so a group photo can be taken, and other photos can be taken at the end of the presentation. All right, John, stage is yours.
Good evening, everybody. Distinguished council members, Mayor Theros, families, and friends. We greatly appreciate the opportunity to present our merit awards before you each year. It provides us with a platform to highlight the exceptional efforts of our personnel who went over and above the performance of their duties during the previous year. We attempt to recognize the exceptional work of our public safety officers, dispatchers, and fire specialists on many levels. So please know that the recipients before you this evening are not the only folks who have received recognition for a job well done in 2023. These awards were voted cream of the crop. That being said, and without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, when I call your name, please step forward. PSO Charity Vanover. Charity this evening. During the spring and summer of last year, the Public Safety Department handled several incidents involving an elderly resident suffering from dementia who wandered away from their home. PSO Vanover, having handled several of these calls, was not satisfied in allowing the situation to go unaddressed and decided to help. While off duty, she purchased an AirTag and audible door alarms with her own funds and returned to the resident's home the next day. With assistance from a fellow officer, she installed the alarms and fitted the resident with an AirTag necklace. Excuse me. She then synced the tag to her personal cell phone, as the resident's husband did not own and could not operate a smartphone. A short time later, the couple was visiting their cottage in Cedar, Michigan, approximately 3 hours from Grosse Pointe Farms, when the resident wandered off and could not be located. As a last resort, her husband decided to call PSO Vanover to see if she could help, after attempts to find her by the Leelanau County Sheriff's Department proved unsuccessful. PSO Vanover was able to ping her exact location and convey it to deputies within minutes from 3 hours away. The resident, who was found over a mile away from her home between a lake and a wooded area, was returned safe and sound. PSO Vanover is commended for going over and above in her selfless service to the community and keeping our residents safe. Next up, Sergeant Veronica Cashin, PSO Jason Newberg, PSO Jim LeBeau. On April 12th, at approximately 8 p.m., PSO LeBeau was on patrol in the area of Roland Court and he was alerted by a resident that her adult grandson had locked himself in the lower level bathroom of their home and was now responding to her. He made entry into the home and found the bathroom door was locked, but could hear the sounds of abnormal breathing and wheezing coming from the subject. PSO LeBeau called for additional units and MedStar ambulance while attempting to gain entry into the bathroom. He also called for Narcan from arriving units after learning from the grandmother that her grandson was known to use narcotics. PSO Newberg arrived on scene with his department issued Narcan, and he and LeBeau worked together to force entry into the bathroom. After using a pair of pliers to gain entry, they found the patient unresponsive and blue in color. PSO Newberg removed the patient from the bathroom into the hallway, allowing him to confirm the patient still had a pulse. It was determined that the patient was suffering from an apparent heroin overdose. PSO Newberg assisted in preparing the Narcan, and 3 doses were administered by the patient to the patient by PSO LeBeau. Within moments, the patient was conscious and speaking with officers. Sergeant Cashin gathered information from the grandmother and worked with medics to load and prepare the patient for transport to a local hospital for treatment. As a result of the professional, well-coordinated effort, the resident's life was saved. Okay, next up, Sergeant Veronica Cashin, Sergeant Tim Harris, PSO Jim LeBeau, and PSO Jason Newberg. On July 25th at approximately 10 p.m., officers were dispatched to the area of McEnroe Shell Station for an unresponsive female. Sergeant Cashin, LeBeau, Newberg, and Harris made the area and located an adult female at the McEnroe bus shelter. The patient, who was lifeless, blue in color, not breathing, had no pulse, was quickly removed from the bus shelter. The group began chest compressions, an AED was applied, and no shock was advised. Sergeant Harris and PSO Newberg administered 4 separate doses of Narcan, while PSO LeBeau utilized the BBM to administer rescue breaths. That's the bag that you use to get breaths. The female was transported to St. John Hospital via ambulance and was alert and conscious upon arrival. These officers exuded collective professionalism, resulting in a life being saved, and are commended for the coordinated efforts.
Thank you. I only have one hand. Thank you. That's very much.
Thank you.
It's all right.
Next up, Teresa Payne. Dispatch Teresa Payne. February 3rd at approximately 7 p.m., dispatcher Teresa Payne took a phone call from the 988 suicide hotline regarding an unknown 13-year-old boy who was making suicidal threats. The only information available is the boy's first name with possible connections to an address in Clinton Township or an unknown location in Grosse Pointe Farms. He stated he was either going to stab himself or jump off of a small building that was 5 minutes away from his location. Without prompting, Dispatcher Payne immediately jumped into action and contacted AT&T for an exigent cell phone ping. He gathered vital information regarding phone ownership and user location. Dispatcher Payne found that the phone was registered to a Grosse Pointe Farms address. Officers made the location and found it was a prior address of the family in question, but that they had moved to another home with an unknown address on the same street. By searching through the Pure Cards, an updated address was found for a 13-year-old boy on the same street. Officers were able to locate the boy and spoke with him and his parents. He admitted to calling the suicide hotline, stating that he was going to wait until dark after his parents fell asleep so he could sneak out and commit suicide. The boy was transported to a local hospital for treatment by his family. Dispatcher Payne, who was still in training at the time, took immediate action in locating a young, vulnerable resident in despair. Her quick thinking, ability to multitask, and exceptional organizational skills are commended and played a central role in saving a young life. Next up, Detective Lieutenant Trupiano, Lieutenant Finn, and Detective Derek Lazarski. On March 3rd, at 1:06 p.m., Fifth Third Bank on Mack in Grosse Pointe Woods was robbed with a gun implied but not seen. Suspects fled the location of Black Monte Carlo, and after a lengthy police pursuit by Grosse Pointe Woods and Harper Woods units, the suspect vehicle was lost. With information that the suspects were out on foot, Detective Lieutenant Trupiano, Lieutenant Vincent Finn, and Detective Lazarski made the area of Rosemary and Hayes. The suspect, wearing a red hoodie, was located by the officers running in an alley and was ordered to the ground. Applied and freely admitted, "I have a weapon on me." The suspect was handcuffed, and Detective Lieutenant Trupiano recovered a loaded Glock 19 from the front of the suspect's pants. A large amount of $100 bills and 3 spare firearm magazines were also recovered from the suspect. The suspect was a convicted felon and suspected in 2 additional bank robberies in East Point and Harper Woods. The second suspect was also taken into custody and gave a full confession to all 3 robberies, and both were charged with an 11-count felony carrying a potential life sentence. As a result of these officers' diligence and tenacity, the suspects were taken into custody without incident. Next up, we have Detective Roger Wershesky. February 5th, a group of Chilean nationals broke into a residence at 268 Provencal and committed a home invasion, which was discovered on February 6th by the property manager. Home invasion was an estimated $100,000 loss to the resident. Due to Detective Wershesky's tenacious attitude and perseverance in following leads, he was able to identify 5 suspects responsible for the home invasion. The group was subsequently arrested in Carmel, Indiana, after committing several more home invasions. Property from the Camacho home invasion was still in possession of the group and consequently recovered. Cases in Oakland Township, Rochester, and Bluefield Hills were also solved due to Reshevsky's efforts. Case was then turned over to the Attorney General's office for prosecution, and the adult suspects have since pled guilty in the case. Detective Reshevsky is commended for his assertiveness, eye for detail, and willingness to go above and beyond the performance of his duties. Thank you very much. All right, those ones off. Next up, GSO Paul Rager and dispatcher Chris Rich. April 1st, approximately 2:30 p.m., dispatcher Rich received a 911 call about a choking child at Grosse Pointe Academy. He immediately dispatched all units, kept the child's mother on the phone, and gave her instructions. When he learned the child's father had already attempted the Heimlich maneuver without success, he gave instructions to turn the child over and administer back blows. Dispatcher Rich remained calm and kept the caller on the line until officers arrived. PSO Rager arrived in under 2 minutes, positioning his scout car with the lights activated at the entry to the building, where he broadcasted to other responding units the proper door to use and the child was downstairs. PSO Rager found the child's father administering back blows when the Heimlich maneuver had not been successful. Rager took over and gave several back blows, dislodging a piece of candy from the child's airway. Promptly advised all cars to slow down and that the object had been removed. There was a large piece of candy on the floor as well as some blood. An interview with the father revealed that the blood was due to a finger sweep that he had initially performed. MedStar arrived and evaluated the child and found no need to transport him. Dispatcher Rich and PSO Rager acted swiftly, professionally, and efficiently and are to be commended for their actions in helping to save the child's life. Stop, PSO Charity Vanover. On August 19th, PSO Vanover, while attending a family function at Veterans Memorial Park, the St. Louis Shore found an elderly man lying on the ground near the bathrooms. She observed him to be purple, blue, in color, unresponsive, and not breathing. PSO Vanover took it upon herself to immediately render aid by performing CPR. She alerted others to contact emergency services and was joined by her husband, David, a Shelby Township police officer. Together, they performed CPR on the victim until he began to cough. Emergency services arrived and assumed care and treatment of the victim. While in the medic unit, the victim stopped breathing again, and an AED was used by the medics to revive him and transport him to the hospital. The St. Clair Shores Police and Fire Departments were on scene and praised Vanover's actions as above and beyond what is expected of a citizen. These actions exemplify her sense of duty and pride in her profession. PSO Vanover is a credit to the department, her community, and those who wear the uniform. Charity is going to stay up here for the final award, which we are starting this year, which is the Employee of the Year. Employee of the Year can be anybody, it can be a dispatcher, a fire specialist, a PSO, or even a clerical person. So Charity has the honor of accepting the first Employee of the Year award. PSO Charity Vanover was hired by the Public Safety Department on May 5th, 2019, officially as a part-time parking enforcement officer. She had previously served as a Detroit police officer, where she suffered a debilitating injury in a scout car accident while performing her duties. After a long recuperation and approximately 3 years as a parking enforcement officer, she expressed her desire to become a public safety officer and asked us to give her a chance. She worked tirelessly, obtaining her recertification as a police officer and then in the Macomb Fire Academy, where she performed admirably as the oldest cadet in the class and known as Mom. Charity has been a public safety officer with our department now since July 1st of 2022. And during the past 18 months or so, she has consistently gone over and above in the performance of her duties. She is always helpful to her fellow officers, professional and courteous to everyone she meets, never complains, and time again has gone the extra mile, both on and off duty to help those in need. Charity is a shining example of positivity, hard work, and perseverance, and has earned the title of Employee of the Year. That concludes our awards for this evening, and thank you for allowing us to present again this evening.
Just a few minutes, so pictures can be taken with family members and with the press, so we'll reconvene at 7:30. Thank
Oh, you have something? Yes.
I think the press wants a group photo with all the officers.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
No, we're good. Sure. Yeah. A lot of people in there, John. Let people deserve it. It's okay, they did the job. Let's.
I'm gonna go after the. I want to make sure. You guys can stand up, can you two? I might have to move you.
Got about 30 seconds to stop. Leave it. Don't call that.
And these. Mac Avenue. No. Opened it up. Yeah, his son and his wife was running it. That was just dinner last night. Yes. No. You gotta raise the Yeah, it's gonna be 60.
I'm always in the kitchen. All this stuff.
Here they go. See what's happening. Here they come. Try.
She didn't know us, but
That's all you
Yeah, that's.
See you guys. I'll take it off.
What's that?
Yeah. No, it's good. Good seeing you. You too.
Renee, Michelle, next, continue on. All right, item 5, do I have a motion for the city council to adjourn and to reconvene at the Board of Zoning Appeals?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Item 5, Board of Zoning Appeals, consideration of request for dimensional variance to construct a new garage and pergola at 493 Bournemouth. Is the applicant in attendance? Please come forward, give us your name and address, and present your case to the zoning board.
Name's Jason Morara, that's for. First of all, again, thank you. Good evening, council. Thank you for giving me the time to be on this agenda, especially with such a
esteemed colleagues here providing such a good service. I don't know if I need to read in detail all of the details that are. in the
No,
document.
we've read the package, so if you want to give us the highlights.
Sure.
That would be great.
First of all, I want to give comments to Matt. Matt has been supportive to me prior to closing this investment property. He made it very transparent to me what it's going to take to make the house livable. The house was uninhabitable, right? And it was in really bad shape. There was a squatter actually inside the home when my real estate agent came to look at the property. And so it has great bones, but it needs a lot of love. The garage and the sunroom that I had demoed through permit was in bad shape. It's probably, I don't know, 50 or 60 years old. And they had put some kind of addition on the backside for additional storage, and it just wasn't safe. And you can see it was quite overgrown, and the trees had really become bothersome as well because they weren't in good shape. So I immediately removed the garage and the sunroom and removed a significant portion of the trees. You can see the entire house as you drive by now. So it looks a little bit better, and it's going to dry out because of the sun. I did purchase the home in November of 2023. And as I mentioned, it remained vacant or foreclosed on for more than a year. And again, Matt's team reviewed the property and gave me a very all-encompassing list of things in order to get occupancy for it. So I understood that going prior to the purchase, and it was great because I wanted to know what I was getting into. My efforts are going to include completely rehabbing the house from the outside and the inside. So we're taking it all the way down to studs, including drywall, new electrical, HVAC, air conditioning, and so on. And today, the reason why I'm here is to talk about a variance. The garage itself is going to be the same dimensions as the previous one, but obviously in a modern structure. The sunroom that's been removed, you can see in the design variance that we're requesting to basically increase the width of it. The neighbor, the only line of sight in this property is the neighbor to the east side of the house. I did review it with Dale from 191 Bournemouth, and he's excited about seeing the improvements in the property. And I have to say that pergola is actually an open structure, so there's no obscuration of view from the neighbor's house now to the back avenue, where the sunroom actually was an obscuration, as well as the trees. So we've actually improved visibility for our neighbors to the road, and I think it's going to be a nice adjustment to the property. I think in the back of the document, you can see what I've actually done with the property, removal of the trees, the actual pergola design or the intent for the design, and then the garage itself. And I think we provided the necessary drawings and the plot plan and the backup for the historical purposes of the home. You can see the details. So I hope over the next 6 months, this house will be complete. I've got a general contractor that works for me full time. And so we're going to, hopefully be able to complete this process before the end of the summer and make it livable.
Right, thank you. Any questions from the zoning board? Mr. Lewis. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Moran, if I recall correctly, you're from Shelby Township. I'm in favor of your proposal. Thank you for your investment in Grosse Pointe Farms. And thank you for your kind words about the members of our Department of Public Safety. Thank you, sir.
Thank
Good
you.
luck. Anybody else? Yeah.
I just have a small, a comment about a small detail. In the applicant's package on item number E, where it says explain why granting. The applicant and I did discuss this, the new pergola / sunroom. I just asked that sunroom be stricken, the word sunroom be deleted or crossed out.
Yeah, and that was, my attempt was to explain that it was a sunroom and it's going to be a pergola, but for clarification purposes, there will be no sunroom, it will be.
Yes, and I appreciate the thoroughness of your package, very well stated, and as Councilman Galuli stated, thank you for the compliment you give to Matt and this. Means a lot, thank you.
Anybody else left?
A question for Matt. Matt, in the In the description here, it says that the property is currently legally non-conforming. Is that for the footprint of the old garage?
It would be for the house itself as well. At this point, there is no garage. So, but the house is too close to the sideline as well, but that's existing, so.
And I'd like to add this, you know that that plot is extremely unique. I think this is not a traditional plot, so I think there probably was some consideration for it when it was, originally designed, but it's kind of like a triangle. It's not really a square plot.
And that was gonna be my next point. You've clearly shown here in your drawings that this is an unusual and unique, dimensionally very unique property. It's on the corner here at Matt and Bournemouth, and it appears as though it's almost like a pie shape, which creates a practical difficulty for you in terms of not being able to comply with the side yard setbacks, if I understand your argument. And so my only other question is, did you try to are there any alternatives that you could think of that would limit the size of the variance itself? Smaller garage, move the garage over toward Mac or away from Mac, whatever, anything that because part of what we need to do is ask for any variances that we can minimize this.
The garage is actually smaller than the previous, as I was mentioning, that there was like an add-on to the back side of that garage. You can see it in some of the pictures. So I've actually made it smaller, so that does free up some space. And I think with the open air structure versus the pergola, the sunroom, excuse me, it also creates an appearance that it's a larger surface or open area instead of the sun.
Anybody else? Anybody in the public like to comment on this proposal? Seeing nobody in the public comment is closed. What is the pleasure of the zoning board? Go ahead.
I move that the appeal of Mr. Jason, is it Marat? Marat, owner of the currently legally non-conforming property located at 493 Bournemouth be granted, thereby authorizing issuance of a building permit to construct a new garage and pergola. Approval allows a variance of 5 feet from the required 17-foot 9-inch setback for the garage and 7 feet from the required setback for the pergola. All work will conform with the drawings and plans submitted by the applicant that are contained in his application dated January 30th, 2024. In making this decision, the board has reviewed a report from McKenna dated March 4th, 2024, a memo from Matt Baca dated March 11th, zoning board of appeals application submitted by the owner dated January 30th, 2024, and the architectural plans submitted as well by the applicant. The variance is granted on the basis that strict application of the zoning ordinance would result in a practical difficulty for the user of the property due to the fact that the property dimensions are unique and the resident would be unable to build a garage without a variance. The practical difficulty is not self-created. The extent of the variance in relation to the ordinance is sizable, but no reasonable alternatives exist that would reduce the needed encroachments. The variance is in harmony with and serves the intent and purpose of the ordinance. Variance allows construction that will be harmonious with the surrounding properties. The variance will result in substantial justice being done because the hardship suffered, if the variance is not granted, would be significant. All homes in the zoning district must have a garage, and the property owner would not be able to build one without the variance. There are no viable alternatives that would obviate the hardship. There have been no letters of objection received from neighboring property owners, and finally, no additional government resources will be needed due to this variance. That's my motion.
Very much. Valid motion.
Support.
Mr. Kisicki, roll call.
Councilmember Wood,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Conrad Goldsberg, Councilmember Ritchie,
Yes.
Mayor Karas.
Yes.
Councilmember Dodd,
Yes.
Councilmember Showrock.
Yes.
Councilmember Wood.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
I appreciate your.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir.
Do I have a motion to adjourn as the Board of Zoning Appeals and to reconvene as a city council?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 6, consent agenda. Does anybody want either item A or B taken out of the consent agenda to be considered singularly? Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented? So moved. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 7, we have the 2024 February public safety report. Item 8, other business, Mr. Reside.
Just one item, I'm gonna just request a really brief closed session after our regular meeting tonight to discuss personnel matter subject to attorney client privilege.
We will not reconvene as the city council after, okay. Anybody else have other business from the council, Mr. Soroka?
Yeah, I just had a question for Director Hutchins. I looked through, thank you so much for preparing the annual report. Councilwoman Donovan and I were commenting how lovely it is to have all this information in one place. One thing I did have a question on was, there was a 37% increase in the number of runs for our firefighters, fire safety. Do you have any, is there any kind of logic behind that rise in the past year? I know they're talking to the increases of some other issues that are, you know, but is there anything going on here that explain the rise there?
In terms of runs, not particularly, it's, most of them are false alarms for the runs. And we're documenting fire runs now, even if the engine doesn't make the scene. So if PSO gets there and finds out it's a false alarm, calls the engine off, it still gets documented as a fire run because the scout cars get there long ahead of the engine for that. So that could account for it unless you have something else to add.
And also, we respond the engine now to carbon monoxide alarms. In the past, we just send an officer, maybe a fire specialist in the little vehicle, but carbon monoxide, it's dangerous, might need our air pack, so now the engine makes it, and that's probably what's causing it.
To it.
That's very helpful information.
Anybody else on council? Anybody in the public comment? Seeing none, meeting is adjourned. Happy spring, everybody. Move to go into closed session. That's right, I'm sorry, yeah. Is there support? Support. Roll call, Mr. Kazicki.
Councilmember Conrad. Councilmember Rich.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Barris. Or Mayor Barris.
Yes.
Councilmember Donovan.
Yes.
Councilmember Soroka.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you, everybody. Now I'll say happy spring.